Here we are for part 2 of this week's edition of Backpage Blues, and it really is time for my favourite part of the week. It's where we answer your questions. I'm still joined by Charlie the Hurricane Skillam from the Mail Online.
How are you, mate?
I'm good, I'm
it's
very
my
well.
favourite part of the week too.
Oh, that's very kind.
Today.
Right, I suppose we should make a start. We're going to get through as many of your questions as possible, and just before we do, thank you so much for getting your questions into us. We really are grateful. This is your channel, so please keep your questions coming in. I love to read them, and we'll get through as many as we can. I'll start, if that's all right, Charlie, and we'll start with Chico 3000 Gamma's question. He wants to know what we make of Mo Salah's performances in Fiorentina, and he wonders if you'd like to, or if you think we will, see Mo Salah back in a blue shirt at the Bridge.
To answer the second part, no, I don't think we will. Which I think is a bit of a shame. You know, he played so well for Basel, and it was you know, quite exciting to get him. But
he destroyed us actually, didn't he? He was fantastic against us.
He did. He never really lived up to it at Chelsea. And the Italian league is so far below the Premier League physically. I mean, we've seen it with Quadrado. Quadrado played an absolute blinder in Italy. Yeah. And it's been a very similar situation where he's come over, not quite adapted physically enough. Salah absolutely hit the ground running at Fiorentina, scored like 6 goals in his first 8 games. He's tailed off a little bit. Yeah.
But not to the extent that we're not going to lose. We're going to make money on him, aren't we?
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I hate doing this, guys.
Yeah.
We're not an Arsenal. We're not Arsenal fans. I hate discussing the money, but it is actually important in an era of fair play, FIFA fair play. We need to be selling players and making money and being seen as being profitable and self-sufficient.
Absolutely.
And Mo Salah is a reason for that actually being the case.
Yeah, you know, I think so. Again, we want players to play for Chelsea and do well for Chelsea. That apart from FFP rules, you know, that's not my priority, but it is a consideration. It's something Chelsea take very seriously. Good luck to him. You know, he obviously tried his hardest for Chelsea. It didn't quite work out for anyone.
Absolutely. Good luck to him. But I agree actually with everything Charlie said there. I don't think we'll see him at Chelsea again. But yeah, good luck to him. I think he tried hard, and fingers crossed it works out for him in Italy, I imagine.
Yeah. Next question from Lee Nolson. This is, if you guys could sign any former Chelsea player to improve our current team, who would you choose?
It's a wonderful question.
It's a great question.
It's very difficult, actually.
See in part 3. This is going to take so long.
Yeah, it is. It's very difficult not to be sentimental about this. Because if I were to be sentimental, I would go Dan Petrescu. I think he's a wonderful player, but he's obviously not as good a defender or as good a right back as Branislav Ivanovic, so I can't do that.
I think he'd be great in the modern game, though. He was so attacking.
He was so attacking. He was so intelligent.
He was ahead of his time.
Yeah, there wasn't a flaw to his game. He scored bundles of goals. He was actually one of the original fullbacks. One of the sort of, he pioneered a position as a wing back. He really did. He bombed on. And I just love the bloke. I think he's fantastic. He called his daughter Chelsea. Yeah. I just think that Dan Petrescu, and obviously a question like this, you know full well, I'm always going to get Super Dan into the mix. Yeah. But I don't think I don't think he would get into this team over Ivanovic. So I'm therefore going to have to rethink. Who would you go for? I'll have a think.
I would go for. He wasn't always my favourite player at Chelsea, and I could say someone like Ruud Gullit or Zola. I'm going to say on the right wing, I'm going to think Arjen Robben in his prime.
Not happy with that.
Would be a great addition to this team.
Not happy with that. Far too functional. Far too functional a response there. Yeah, of course Arjen Robben, of course Ruud Gullit. No, I think I want to hear Dennis Wise. I want to hear John Spencer. I want to hear Mark Steen. I think John Spencer would score bundles of. I think John Spencer scored goals for Chelsea when he had players like Paul Furlong giving him assists. What would he be like? David Hopkins. What would he be like? What would John Spencer be like with Eden Hazard putting him through?
Well, he still wouldn't have been much good in the air.
Lethal. No, I think I agree. Obviously, Arjen Robben was a fantastic talent and would be beneficial to any team. There isn't a team in the world that he couldn't improve.
No, I agree. Maybe centre half's a weak point, so possibly someone like Desailly.
Desailly? Yeah. Well, yeah. Can you imagine Desailly and Terry in their pomp?
Hang on. Ricardo Carvalho. Carvalho and Terry was the best partnership of all time.
Yeah.
So
This is a really good question.
Hang on,
guys. Can you?
I've got to stop you there.
Someone's skyping us in during Backpage Blues.
Guys,
let me know.
It's Adam.
We've
got to answer it.
You can't answer the question.
Well, yeah, but it's Adam.
Why are you answering a Skype call during Backpage Blues?
Because it's Adam.
I know you're filming for Backpage Blues, and you never feature my question, and I want my question to be in Backpage Blues.
Is this a wind-up? Can you, Adam? Adam, you can't Skype in during Backpage Blues. You know full well that we're...
He's Adam, he can do what he wants.
This is a disgrace. I'm disgusted with you for answering as well. Absolutely outrageous. Over to you then, Adam. What would you like?
Well, as you know, I was born in 2002. I want you two to tell me, what was it like being a Chelsea fan before Abramovich came to the Blues?
It was wonderful. As wonderful as it is now.
Adam, you have to join the queue. People put their questions in. They tweet us their questions, they Skype us their questions. They also put their questions on YouTube. You can't just jump the queue with a Skype.
Now he's called. Let's answer his question, Raw.
Fair enough. After you, Charlie.
Let's answer his question.
I'm always in the queue. I always put my question in.
Exactly. So let's answer his question.
He's a wonderful
properly.
kid.
Right. It was great. You know, don't listen to anyone that Chelsea have no history. We were winning cups in the 10 years before Abramovich. We always had a great culture of support. We've always had great, exciting players.
Yeah, it was truly wonderful.
It was wonderul growing up being a Chelsea fan.
There was a team, there was an era. The era that I suppose was epitomised by winning the cup and beating Tottenham 6-1. They were the sort of highlight. And we also won in Stockholm. Yeah, we won in Stockholm. That team though, that team were just a dream and a joy to be part of. Dennis Wise, I suppose Dennis Wise is the fulcrum. Dennis Wise, it revolved around him. But players like Gianfranco Zola, Di Matteo, the original influx, Frank LaBeouf, the original influx of continental players to Chelsea. It really did start at Stamford Bridge, and it really did sort of bring Chelsea back into relevance. Yeah. We were a beautiful team, and you know, through the 60s we were really glamorous, and that revived with players like Roberto Di Matteo and players like that coming over. So it really was exciting.
I completely agree.
I can't believe that we've answered your question. I think it's a disgrace. Skyping in, we're going to have words, young man. We're going to have words. We're out.
Be very scared.
We're going to focus. See you later. Boom.
Right.
We need to focus. We're going to move on.
Cheers, Adam.
Cheers, Adam. Yeah, it's actually a very good question, but I just wish that he respected the rules.
Law unto himself. He's the new hurricane.
He's not. There's only one hurricane, that's for sure. We're going to move on quickly. We're going to go for Paddy Coughlin's question, which is the worst ever signing under Jose Mourinho.
Ooh,
good question.
Yeah.
There aren't many.
Quite tricky. I'm going to pick one that I really couldn't believe it when he signed, because you know he was an okay player, but nowhere near a Chelsea quality player. That's Steve Sidwell.
Yeah. Good song. He had a very good song. I want ginger hair too. Yeah, he had a very good song.
That was about it. He wasn't very good on the ball or very good at tackling. Or
no, he wasn't. Or just good at the footballs. Yeah. He wasn't very good at the football. He wasn't very good at football in general.
Yeah.
But yeah, very good song. I think there's only really one mistake, like overt mistake, and that was Asia Del Horno. I think he really didn't get it. He got sent off, didn't he?
For kicking Lionel Messi.
For kicking Lionel Messi. Yeah, but something, fair enough. But he got sent off for kicking Lionel Messi, really cost us, and he was just out of his depth, I think. there were, do you know what, with that in mind actually, it just made me think, Khalid Boularus was another one, just massively out of their depth. It was not that they didn't try, it's not that they weren't committed, it's just that they weren't good enough. And I sort of feel sorry for them, because it'd be the equivalent of putting me out there. If you stuck me...
I've seen you play,
well, I appreciate that, thank you. But if you stuck me trying to mark Arjen Robben, I think I might have a problem.
Back you,
and
I don't think you're very good in the air.
No. I was like Zola though. They was never up there. It was always on the floor. But they just weren't good enough. I think Mourinho, to be fair to him, is always very good at realising when he has made an error, because he immediately rectifies it, puts it right. We've had other managers in the league who have stuck by their mistakes, and it's cost them points. Yeah. Whereas Mourinho will sub a sub, won't he? He's not afraid to do that.
He'll very quickly
rectify the situation. That's part of his brilliance.
Salah got rid of.
Salah got rid of. Joe Cole bought on, didn't work, taken off.
Exactly.
It's part of who he is. Exactly. That he will acknowledge his own mistakes.
The fact we're having to rack our brains, we should say, gives testament to how many great signs there have been.
Yeah, definitely. Right, I suppose that's.
There's one more. Tom Rose. I think this is a reference to your dreadful attire in the season review. Slick back. When will you let the 80s jackets go?
I'm assuming that's aimed at me. I'm not quite sure who Slickback is, but I will answer as if it were me. I will never. I will never. I'm a firm believer in 80s Renaissance, and I will wear pastel colours and Nike retro jackets till my dying day. Thank you very much.
I'm glad he does.
Guys, thank you very much for watching. We always are very interested to hear your thoughts on these videos. So please comment below. Let us know what you think. Get your questions in for next week, and we could be answering your questions next week. And remember, if you haven't subscribed, do it right now. Kind of Champions operation is massively in favour of this move, which actually makes me question whether he has any brains at all, because I think that Oscar is fantastic.